All right, team, let's jump right in. What we're doing today is taking Robyn Gobbel's really powerful framework and turning it into a practical guide for us, a way we can help the families we work with finally make sense of their child's most confusing behaviors. The whole idea is to give them, and us, a completely new way of seeing things. We're starting with this quote because, well, it just hits so close to home for almost every parent we support, right? They're stuck in this game. A behavior pops up, they try to whack it down with some kind of consequence, and then bam, another one just shows up somewhere else. It's totally exhausting, super frustrating, and you know what? It just doesn't work. This is the feeling we're going to help them leave behind for good. And here it is. This is the one question that changes absolutely everything. What if that behavior we see on the outside, the yelling, the meltdowns, the complete shutdown, what if that isn't the actual problem we're supposed to be solving? What if it's just a clue, a little signal about what's really happening deep down in the nervous system? This right here is the massive shift in perspective we're going to guide families through. So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about that whole whack-a-mole frustration. Then we'll introduce the brain as our new lens. We're going to meet the brain's protectors, figure out how to move from that protection mode into connection. And we'll do that using something called co-regulation. And finally, we'll see why this new way of looking at things, it truly changes everything.
Okay, first things first, we have to move past this cycle of just reacting to problems. It's all about understanding why the old playbook, the one everyone thinks they should be using, just isn't cutting it for the kids and families we're here to support.
And this is the key point we need to land with parents. It is not that they're doing something wrong. The sticker charts, the timeouts, all of it, those strategies are failing because they're aimed at the behavior itself, not the root cause in the nervous system. You see, for a kid whose system is already on high alert, these things can actually feel like a threat, pushing them even deeper into that protective, defensive state.
So let's talk about the solution. We're going to offer families a brand new lens to look through. A lens that shifts the focus away from the behavior and squarely onto the brain and the nervous system.
And you can see the difference right here. The old way of looking at it labels a kid as defiant or manipulative, which naturally leads to judgment, right, and punishment. But this new view, it gets curious. It asks, what is this behavior telling me about what's going on inside my child? Do they feel unsafe? Are they totally overwhelmed? We help parents go from being a behavior detective to being a body detective. This is the mantra. This is the North Star we want families to hold on to. It's not about being a good kid or a bad kid. It's just a simple biological fact. When a child's nervous system is balanced, when they feel truly connected to us, and when they experience that deep sense of safety, well, the good behavior just kind of happens naturally. Okay, now for the really fun part. We're going to give families some simple, sticky metaphors to understand what's happening in the brain. So, let's meet our cast of characters: the owl, the watchdog, and the possum. First up is the wise owl. This is our goal. This is the brain state we're always trying to get back to. The owl brain is online when the nervous system feels safe. This is the part of the brain that can think, learn, and connect. When a kid is in their owl brain, they're open, they're engaged, they're ready for a relationship. So when that owl is in charge, this is what we get: cooperation, flexibility, that little pause before reacting, even empathy. You know when parents say, "I just want my sweet, thoughtful kid back," what they're really saying is, "I miss their owl brain, and I want to help it come back." But when the nervous system senses danger, and it can be any kind of danger, real or perceived, the wise owl flies away. And in its place, one of two protectors takes over. You've got the watchdog brain, which revs everything up, or the possum brain, which shuts everything down. And it's so important to remember, these are automatic survival responses. They are not conscious choices. So first, let's look at the watchdog pathway. This is your classic fight or flight. As you can see, it escalates. It starts with just being a little alert, a little vigilant, then it ramps up to resistance, defiance, and if the perceived threat gets big enough, all the way to aggression. The behavior we see on the outside perfectly matches the level of danger the child's nervous system is feeling on the inside. And the other pathway is the possum brain, the shutdown response. This one also has levels, starting with just avoidance and going all the way to a full collapse. Now, pay attention to that trickster level of overcompliance. This one is so confusing for adults because the kid looks like they're behaving, but it's actually a sign of alarm.
This whole pathway is basically the brain slamming on the emergency brakes.
Okay, so now that we can help families spot whether their child is in watchdog or possum mode, what's next? Well, the million-dollar question is, how do we help guide them back to connection? How do we invite that owl brain to come home?
And the answer, the absolute key to this whole thing, is a concept called felt safety. Now, it's so critical to get this. Safety isn't just about whether there's a tiger in the room or not. It is a subjective feeling. The brain is always scanning for cues of safety or danger from three places: from inside our own bodies, from the environment around us, and, this is the most important one for our work, from our relationships. What feels safe to me might feel terrifying to you. This might be the single most important slide for parents. Our job is not to be a behavior stopper. Our job is to be a safety creator. When a child is deep in watchdog or possum mode, trust me, logic and consequences are completely useless. The only thing that helps is to flood their nervous system with cues of safety until that owl brain finally feels like it's okay to come back out. So how in the world do we create that feeling of safety, especially when things are chaotic? The main tool in our toolbox is something called co-regulation. Let's break down what that actually means for the families we're working with. Co-regulation is so much more than just staying calm. It's an active, energetic thing. Think of it like a dance. A regulated adult tunes into the child's chaotic state, maybe matches their energy just a tiny bit to make a connection, and then gently leads them back toward balance. We are literally lending them our own regulated nervous system to borrow. And here's where the rubber meets the road. Notice how different the approach is. When you're dealing with lower-level stuff like whining, the goal is connection. You slow down, you listen, you offer choices. But when things escalate to higher-level dysregulation, like hitting, the priority shifts completely. It's all about safety. We use very few words, we keep a safe presence, and we just provide that calm anchor in the storm. Okay, let's bring this all home. When we help a family make this fundamental shift from trying to manage behaviors to focusing on nurturing regulation, it doesn't just change a few things. It changes the entire family dynamic. And this is the heart of it all. The single most powerful thing we can do for a family is help them change how they see their child. The moment a parent starts to see their child not as defiant but as dysregulated, not as manipulative but as desperately searching for safety, that change in the parent's eyes is felt, nervous system to nervous system. The parent transforms from being another threat into being the source of safety. And that right there is the ultimate transformation. We're helping families move away from those knee-jerk, frustrated reactions and toward calm, thoughtful, attuned responses. We're helping them respond to the need that's hiding behind the behavior, not just the behavior itself. And that's what builds connection. That's what builds resilience. And that's what finally ends the game of behavior whack-a-mole. So I'm going to leave you with this question to take with you into your very next session. With these tools, with this new lens, how are you going to help a family see their child differently today? Not for their baffling behavior, but for their amazing, striving nervous system that's just doing its absolute best to find a little bit of safety. Because that's where the real magic happens.